This podcast is brought to you by Martin Kearns and the Valor of Valhalla series. In the battle between two ancient evils, can one naive young man become the last hope against powerful creatures of legend? Beneath the Veil is the gripping first book in the Valor of Valhalla dark urban fantasy series. If you like reluctant heroes, infernal myths, and bloody epic clashes, then you'll love Martin Kearns' formidable foray into the unknown. So head on over to readkearns.com and grab yourself a copy of Beneath the Veil today.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Stories the True and the Fictional. We have a wonderful guest for you coming up very soon. He likes Star Trek, so we're going to get into a whole lot of Star Trek. He writes books, so we're going to get into a whole lot of books. But first, I am one of your hosts, J.A. Bryden. With me always is our resident reader, Ryan, or Triple R. How you going, Triple R? Just trying something new.
Oh, resident reader, Ryan, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this week I've actually been I've been Resident Evil reading, Ryan. Not reading, no. Resident Evil writing. Because those of you who know I love horror, Resident Evil is one of my few favorite game series, and the new one, Resident Evil Requiem, came out just over a week ago. I got it and I am absolutely loving it. Although, as I mentioned on my social media yesterday, minor little spoiler, I guess. When you get sort of halfway through the game, one of the bosses is a giant, very realistic spider. Realistic as in, like, I fought the spiders in the early games back in the 90s, and they were pixelated, so it's like, it's not real. But this one, man, holy crap, it was huge, and it had lots of babies. And yeah, so I literally defeated the boss by not looking at the screen, and just using a very, very powerful gun to shoot it a few times. Yeah, pretty much that was it. So yeah, I've been playing a lot of that. I think I'm about 70% complete, so I should be finished that in the next few days. As I mentioned off there, I finished Matt Waterhouse's Bleeding Concrete, which was a really amazing look into the psyche of a man slowly descending into madness. It was absolutely amazing, and I have started Molly McCabe's Dark Bloom. I am about 35% through. So it's a very it's a post-apocalyptic story where it's a lot better than The Walking Dead. I will say that. A lot better than The Walking Dead TV show, not the comics, because the comics are good. It's very, very good. I absolutely love it, and I have the sequel to read when I'm finished, so I'm excited for that. And I'm also excited, sort of, that in 2 or 3 days, so we'll have a new book that I pre-ordered from my favorite horror author, but it's called Spiders, and I'm not looking forward to reading it, but I will. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, going to see Scream 7 this afternoon, which I'm excited about. I rewatched the other 2 of this series yesterday, so I'm up to date and I'm good to go. So yeah, busy person. But
you got a lot going on, mate.
Oh yeah. It's hard being me, man. Seriously.
When this episode's out, Janelle Shiki's new book Spider will be out. Pretty sure.
And I probably would have read it with my eyes closed.
You've read it. Well, there's
maybe,
an audio.
Maybe I'll get a braille copy. Maybe I don't know. Like, just,
so you can feel the spiders.
Yeah, no, that's worse. I'll just read it. I'll read it.
Awesome. Well, guys, keep an eye out for that. Janelle Shiki is one of our honorary sponsors. So is Alexander Robb. They won Best Cover and Best Read for our 2025. But then there's our other sponsors, which you'll hear the ads all the time, Martin Kearns and Rebecca Castles. Please check them out. All their links are down in the show notes, and keep
and helping. Alexander Robb, I think you
I said that.
Oh, okay, my bad.
I always put Alexander Robb and Janelle Shiki together.
Oh, okay.
So I remember it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so check them out and buy Ryan's shirt. We do have merch.
Yeah, buy my shirt.
you too can live the dream. But now that that's out of the way, let's get to the show. Let's bring in our guest with one of the easiest names to pronounce, because we get a lot of hard names to pronounce. Scott Pearson, thank you for joining us.
Happy to be here.
So straight off the bat, I mean, I've got a million questions to ask, but we have to get this out of the way first. Like, who is Scott Pearson?
Well, I'm a freelance writer and editor. I specialize in genre fiction, horror, mystery, sci-fi, fantasy. I work both with publishers, copy editing novels for the publishers. I also work directly with a lot of indie authors who hire me directly to copy edit or proofread their books. I also do proofreading and some copy editing for IDW, the comic book company. And I also am an editor on the Star Trek Adventures role-playing game. And I am the developmental editor at the Star Trek novel line at Simon & Schuster. Sometime in there, I try to find time for my own writing.
Wow.
Wow. Oh, well, me and Jamie are very familiar with the IDW comic brand, because Jamie is a massive Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fan, and in our opinion, that IDW series that I think started in 2000, I'm not 100% sure,
2012.
but 2012, that is probably the best Ninja Turtle story of all time. Jamie stopped reading after, I think, issue 100. I'm still going. It is getting, it is going well. But yeah, we're massive fans of it. I love IDW because that's the place where all the film and TV show rights sort of come to play. And, you know, we get to see continuations of things that we love, you know, Transformers, G.I. Joe. I used to read G.I. Joe, you know, probably about 10 years ago through IDW. So many, the Godzilla series. There's so many great titles at the IDW brand. So I'm definitely giving them a lot of love as well.
Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun working with them. I had kind of gone through a phase where I wasn't really reading comic books for many, many years.
Mm-hmm.
And then I learned that they were looking for a new proofreader for their Star Trek line, and that was right up my alley. And so I got hired for that. And then they started sending me other work as well. So I also proofread their other movie tie-in things, the Quiet Place series and the Smile series.
Yeah.
And then they're going to be introducing a little later this year, or maybe it's just later this spring, I can't remember, but they're starting a new crime imprint, and I'm going to be proofreading those crime comic books as well. So I am really having a lot of fun diving back into the comic book world that I've been out of for quite a while.
Wow. So you literally get paid to read comics?
Yes, I get paid to read comics. I get paid to read Star Trek novels. I get paid to read. Yeah.
And here's me who does it for 3 hours a night for free. You know, I mean, come on, guys. Like, I'm one of those people who, I don't just read Marvel and DC. I love Marvel and DC, and they are probably the most titles that I read. But I also read a lot of Image, a lot of IDW, a lot of Boom Studios, Valiant Comics. Like, I'm as long as the story's good, I don't care where it's published, I will read it. And I've got so many great recommendations from people on social media for comics. But yeah, I probably read you know, between 2.5 to 3 hours a night of comics, because I too took a break too. I think I had about 5 years where I didn't read comics at all, when I had just so much other stuff going on, and now I'm slowly catching up on the missing years of my life. I think I'm up to April 2022 at the moment, so I'm catching up slowly, but I'm getting there. But wow, that's the dream of mine, getting paid to obviously you need to give feedback of when you're proofreading and everything, but essentially being paid to read comics and being paid to read something that you love very dearly in Star Trek publications. I think we might have lost him.
Yeah, here in Minnesota.
I thought it was me for a second, but there we go.
Sorry.
We're having very weird weather here in Minnesota. And our power has been flickering
Oh,
here and there during the day. I'm hoping it'll settle down now, but if I'm suddenly gone, it could be that because when the power flickers, sometimes the Wi-Fi router reboots
mm.
and then I'm gone for a while. So
That's-
just in case that
Okay.
happens.
that's I
No,
can
I
relate.
appreciate that.
I live in the mountains, so I literally have I don't use Wi-Fi. It's plugged into an Ethernet cable because otherwise I'd be gone.
Mhm.
But
Especially when there's bad weather
mm,
as well. Jamie is very, you know, I mean, in Australia we have schizophrenic weather. Like the other, we can go from it raining 1 second to then half an hour later it being sunny and boiling hot, and it's ridiculous.
yep.
Yeah, well, today it's been kind of misting. So it's
Hmm.
warm enough that it's kind of coming down sort of a rain or a mist, but then it's cold enough that it's freezing on the tree branches. And so
Oh,
all day long, there have been branches getting overweighted and falling out of the trees.
no,
And
God.
I'm sure that has something to do with why the power is fluctuating too. The power lines are probably getting hit by trees and stuff. It's
Yep.
bizarre.
Wow.
That yeah, that happened once. A tree fell down in our main intersection and just took out the wires. Just like
Hmm.
no power for 24 hours or something like that. So I can relate. But let's dive into these
Yes.
mandatory icebreakers. We always find that if people get to know you, then they want to buy all your stuff because
Yep.
you're a nice guy, or you're an evil guy, and then they still I want to support. I don't know. It will attract everyone and anyone to your work essentially. But I believe are you going this time, Ryan, for the first icebreaker?
No, I went first last time, so
Okay,
it's with you now, Jamie.
sweet. All right. So we do encourage selfishness on this
Hmm.
podcast. We're not looking for the Miss Universe answers. So picture a
Hmm.
well. I'll try and use an analogy that you might understand. You know, like this Star Trek utopia where everything's like kind of almost perfect on Earth to take us to the stars. But so there's no wars on Earth. You know, everyone's getting along. All the politicians are lovely and they mean what they say and they do what they mean and all that stuff. So essentially, if you could get rid of anything in the world, what would it be?
But anything in this perfect world that you've
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
posited.
Kind of like your pet peeves is
Hmm.
what we're really looking for. Things that drive you up the wall.
Let's see. Uh, I might have to get rid of cilantro
Okay.
because I'm cursed with loving Mexican food and I cannot stand cilantro, which
Okay.
makes it a challenge to go to a restaurant and order a nice, taco or something
Yeah.
because it'll just be loaded with cilantro and I can't stand the stuff.
Nice.
Okay, okay, I like it. That's something personal, and we can get behind that. Um, I wish I could eat more Mexican food. I unfortunately am a little bitch when it comes to spices.
Mm.
I can not take anything remotely mild, remotely spicy. My fa and you know what the weird thing is? My favorite food of all time is nachos, but when I make them or when my wife makes them for me, it has to be done a specific way. It's meat,
No spice.
cheese, corn chips, and the spices you put on it. Literally, probably about the packet says you're supposed to use the whole packet. I say maybe a quarter of the packet goes into
Watered
my
down.
mix because that gives it taste, but it doesn't burn my mouth and cause me to be sitting on the toilet for days on end. So, but yeah, I love Mexican food. Like I love tacos. I love I love enchiladas, all that kind of fun stuff. But I can never go to an authentic Mexican restaurant or even Taco Bell out here. We just got Taco Bell recently, and that's too spicy for me. So yeah, it's a blessing but a curse. With great power comes great responsibility, and I just don't have the ability to enjoy my favorite foods if I'm out. So
Mm,
Yep.
yeah,
there you go.
it's insane. Anyway, question number 2 is, what is something that is on your bucket list?
This might sound like I'm just trying to like cozy up to the show, but getting down to your hemisphere,
Mhm.
I thought has been on my bucket list. I don't know if I could talk my wife into the length of the plane ride
Mm,
to get
Mhm.
down there, but down to the land of Mad Max.
yep.
Who doesn't want to go there? I want to go there. And then I could hop over to Middle Earth / New Zealand as long as I was
Mhm.
down there. That'd be great.
Yeah. Yeah, I've done New Zealand. I've done the Lord of the Rings tour, where we go to Hobbiton, we went to Mount Doom, we went to the Peter Jackson Museum, which has got a lot of his props and things that he used. And you know, no matter what you're imagining in your head, it is 100 times better. It is absolutely
I
amazing.
am I am very envious,
I'm
green with envy at this.
lucky. I'm lucky because my dad is a massive nerd like I am, and it was just me and him that went to New Zealand. And I said, can we go see these things? And he was all for it. And I was luckily enough, it was a time where they converted the Green Dragon Inn into an actual pub where you can go in and
Nice.
have drinks. So we actually went and had lunch in the Green Dragon Inn, which is just across. There's like a little river past Hobbiton where you just drive across, and yeah, it was everything I wanted it to be and more. I'll never forget that.
Now, was the food average and ridiculously expensive because it was a tourist
Um,
destination?
with New Zealand, back when I went in 2012, everything was ridiculously expensive because it is a really high cost of living over there.
Mm.
My cousin actually moved over there. He works, he's very high up in Nespresso, and they set up an office in Auckland, and they offered him a lot of money to relocate over there. And he's been over there for about 15, 16 years now, and it's only just starting to settle down. So I don't know, remember how much exactly it was, but I'm going to say it was ridiculously expensive because everything was.
Mm. So
But
coming
it was
oh,
worth every penny.
would be. So coming to Australia, Scott, do our animals not scare you? It's usually the
Um,
biggest, thing.
yes, there's the whole everything wants to kill you in Australia thing that
Mhm.
I don't know if I probably wouldn't go far out into the outback, into the bush, but I'd like to be down there sometime.
Yeah,
Well, you
just
just have to go to Jamie's backyard because I only found out not long ago after I'd stayed at his house for a week a few years ago, and he gets funnel web spiders in his house because his
oh,
backyard
rarely,
is a
rarely.
national park.
It's
But
yeah, we get them rarely. Like in 40 years, we've had two in the house.
well, that's two more than what I've had in my 44 years in my house. So I'm going to say you get them quite often because compared to my zero, um, you've got them quite a bit, and they're deadly. So
Yeah,
like, and we have, I think, 10 out of the 12 most deadliest snakes in
yeah.
Australia, or spiders. I can't remember which one it is, but yeah, a
No,
lot of
it's
things want to kill
snakes.
you out here.
We have, I think it's 9 out of the 12 deadliest snakes, and we have
Hmm.
the top 9.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh man.
And then also, if you come out here, our kangaroos really don't like people from the US. They always want to fight them. For some reason, I don't know what it is with people from the US, but they always go up to kangaroos and they're like, "Oh, I can take them. I want to fight them," and you just get knocked on their ass
mm,
by the kangaroo, and the kangaroo's like, "Come on, let's go again." Like it's just for some reason it's primarily people from the US.
It would not be me because I know that kangaroos are just a solid mass of muscle.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah,
One of my favorite
yeah.
They're
videos is
just
one of
pumped
my,
up.
yeah.
Oh, they
Well,
are.
yeah. Well, we've got the reds and the greys are a little
Yeah,
more cheeky. Like they're less
the red
lethal.
ones are the big ones.
The reds ones are the ones that you see that are jacked and that would just like
Mhm.
Yeah.
tackle you to the ground. But there's an old video, probably like 15, 20 years old, and it's like a grey kangaroo. There's a guy standing by a lake, and this grey kangaroo just comes up behind him, just lines up and just kicks him into the lake. Just goes, "Go bang," and it's just like, why?
And our red kangaroos, I've seen a video, and this is well before the time of AI, so it's definitely a real video. A red kangaroo successfully fighting off a crocodile. The crocodile, the red
Wow.
kangaroo was having a drink. The crocodile came out to have a go at him, and he bounced on his tail and kicked him in the face. And the crocodile went running, and the red kangaroo was probably like, yeah, what? And starts having a drink again.
Yeah.
It's like those are the ones that you're thinking of when you think big muscular.
Yeah.
Like they are the bodybuilders of the kangaroo world. They're massive, massive. I honestly think one punch from them would knock you out cold.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
So yeah,
they're inland and north to where you don't want to go
yes.
anyway. So you'll be right. You'll be right.
You're the ones you see around in the main towns, in zoos, and sometimes in the regional towns, sort of on the land. They're primarily the grey kangaroos, so they're
Mhm.
the ones that are more likely to run away from you if you get close to them rather than want to fight you.
Or come up and feed you. But
Yeah, or you
I will
come
say
up to
this: run away from emus. That's all I'm going to say.
hmm Yeah, Jamie's got a
Run.
whole book on why you need to run away from emus.
I don't know if you know this. Quick plug. Did you hear about the Emu War, Scott? Have you heard about it?
That sounds vaguely familiar, but I don't remember any of the details at all.
So in 1932, there was a massive problem with emus, 20,000 of them destroying farmers' crops. So the government said, let's declare war on them, literally. And then they lost the war to emus.
Yeah. The emu, and I did not believe it when Jamie first told me about it. And then I looked into it and I was like, wow. Yeah, the emu is such a
Yeah.
amazingly scary bird.
Yeah. Yeah, they think out of 20,000 they killed 900 and then they just gave up because it was 10 rounds per bird on average. So they just couldn't
Oh,
kill them. And they're going like, oh, this is just, yeah. So we embarrassingly lost the emu war.
Yeah.
It is piss funny, but yeah, they don't like talking about it.
No. Well, yeah, exactly. That's not something they're openly sharing in schools. So,
Yeah. I mean, okay, so in the bombing of Darwin, one of our soldiers shot down an enemy plane with one of these machine guns that they later or no, previously couldn't kill an emu with, but they could shoot down a plane. It's that
yeah.
crazy. All right, let's move on to it's the great question. It's the fun question, and it comes with a visual aid. Do you recognize this wonderful landmark? Probably from your neck of the woods. Basically, we
yes.
want to take the concept of the Great Four, but with television shows. Now, I don't know if you're going to pick is Star Trek shows, then I don't know if we're allowed that. Ryan, how many Star Trek shows are we allowed to let you have?
Look, I'm gonna say maybe pick your favorite. So just one. So pick your favorite. My wife's the same. She's a massive Trekkie, so hers would all be Star Trek shows. But yeah, just I'm gonna say pick your one favorite Star Trek show, and then have three
Other shows. Yeah.
other shows. And the other shows can be sci-fi as well. It's not like we're just saying you have to have one for every genre. But I just think there's so many Star Trek shows that you could literally just pick
Yeah.
four Star Trek shows, and that would be it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say pick your favorite. I think pick your favorite it's fair.
Well, I have to kick this off with Star Trek, the original series,
Oh yeah, Shatner.
because that's how I got hooked. I've been a Star Trek fan for over 50 years. I started watching when I was just in first or second grade, seeing the original series and reruns. And so that is so much a part of who I am, and got me started on the path that has led me to where I am. So Star Trek, the original series, is the prime one on the Mount Rushmore of TV shows.
Awesome.
Going to the other three, I've been kind of pondering this in the run up to the show, and it is so hard to choose because there are so many shows that I love across many genres. But I'm going to pick a somewhat obscure show for the next one, Jerry Anderson's UFO.
Ooh.
And a lot of people are more familiar with his marionette shows, Thunderbirds and stuff.
All right, yeah.
Or Space 1999.
Yeah.
That was the show he did after UFO. But I love UFO, or UFO, it's pronounced usually, I guess. It's just great. I mean, it only lasted a couple of seasons, but it's great. It's so much of its time period. It was set 10 years in the future, which at that time put it in the faraway land of 1984. And they were, they had a moon base and everything, but, it was very much of its time in the 70s. They're there on their moon base, and everyone is like smoking cigarettes and having drinks. On a panel at a con once, I referred to it as madmen in outer space, because they're just having a little cigar and having a drink and talking about alien invasions. Great stuff. I'm going to stick with British television shows. Actually, for my next one, I think I'm going to go with The Avengers, particularly the Emma Peel years. And that also was... Basically, I'm picking all these shows that I saw as a kid that really turned me into science fiction. Because some of these things would turn up in syndication, often on public television. Here in the States, for some reason, a lot of British shows would turn up on the public television channel, which was supposed to be like educational television. It's what Sesame Street was on here in the States. But they would import shows from England and put them on PBS. Of course, this was long ago when there were only 4 TV stations.
Yeah.
And so, the big networks already had a full lineup, and the fourth thing, the public television, they were the ones that were trying to fill their airwaves. So The Avengers. But now the fourth one, I've been kind of stumped about what to pick for the fourth one.
The fourth is always the hardest. It's always the hardest.
Let's see. I'm trying to picture like my shelf of DVDs and stuff that I own, because those obviously is a measure of what I love the most, because it's the ones that I've bothered to buy. And wow, I thought I had something, and now I'm drawing a blank.
All right, well, if you can't think of one, we'll let you add a second Star Trek.
A second Star Trek would, probably go to Deep Space Nine.
All right, yep.
It's a hard call though, because it's it's choosing among my babies. I love the franchise, and any particular series or episode exists on a spectrum from I didn't really like this up to I love it, but they all fall in the franchise. So but I usually go to DS9 as my second favorite.
Yeah, I know that one pretty well because I grew up and it was dinner time. You watch Star Trek, like that was thing. So it was either Deep Space Nine or Next Generation. Sometimes Voyager, I think. Rarely though. And I just know the actors. It's like I know them so well. I'm watching an old show called Numbers, and this actor turns up, and I hear the voice, and he's from Deep Space Nine, and he's not in his makeup, and I'm going like, how do I know that? How do I know that?
Yeah, I came into the Star Trek TV universe late, because my wife, like I watched the movies, like I remember I never watched the original movies. I remember First Contact was the first movie, Star Trek movie that I saw, and then I watched them from there. So, I think Insurrection, and a few of the others from there on. But I came into it late, so I watched them with my wife, and Next Gen was my favorite, followed by Voyager, followed by the original, and then Deep Space Nine. I don't know what it was with Deep Space Nine. I just didn't really connect with it as well as I did with Next Gen and Voyager. I really liked Voyager because of the captain, and I can never remember her name.
Captain
But
Janeway.
there you go. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I really, really, really liked her and that series as well. But I mean, honestly, I haven't seen a bad. Well, I haven't watched Strange New Worlds or Discovery. Just because I came into them, by the time everyone was telling me to watch them, they were
Mm.
already, I think, 3 or 4 series deep, and to me, it's just too much of a commitment
30
at the
episodes,
moment
too much.
to
30 episodes, too
yeah,
much.
and you know what? I contradicted myself big time the other night because I was talking to my wife and I said Jamie wants me to watch this Star Trek Strange New World, and I said to him it's too much of a commitment. But I've just started a rewatch of the original Law and Order series, which is 28 seasons, 22 episodes per season, and I'm like, I feel like a bit of a hypocrite.
Yeah.
Um, but no, with the Avengers, funny. I really like the Avengers too. But funny story on how I found the Avengers. When I was younger, I think maybe about 10 or 11, it used to be on at like 11 o'clock at night on one of our TV channel every every day. Yeah, every weeknight it was on. But I, being the massive comic book nerd, I thought it was like an animated version of the Avengers, the actual Marvel Avengers. So I begged my parents to let me stay up late during the school holidays because I didn't have school the next day
This
and
isn't the
watch
Avengers.
because I was like, I want to watch the Avengers. And then there was this dude with a bowler cap and a chick in a skin tight leather outfit. And I'm like, what the hell is this? But then I kept watching it, and I have very fond memories of my dad staying up and watching that with me. Um, and then I think they did a comic series spin-off. Um, I think it was Steve and Mrs. Peel. I'm not sure.
Yes.
I can't. Oh, they did. Okay, cool. I haven't read it, but I've heard a lot. I listen to a lot of comic book podcasts and a lot of older readers that love the Avengers. Absolutely raved about the comic series. So I'm sure it's pretty good.
You know what's funny about that, Ryan?
What's
When
that?
when the Marvel Avengers movie came out, my parents thought the reverse of you. They went, "Oh, the Avengers," and then they were thinking
Why?
the old.
Why are they wearing iron suits and
Yeah,
big green
yeah,
gentlemen?
yeah.
Yeah.
Why is that man green? Literally like that. Because I remember the Avengers very well. Because my folks were into it.
Yeah, that kind of led me into my love of British TV. I absolutely love British comedy, British horror and crime shows as well. Like,
Mhm.
I believe that like the In-Betweeners when I was growing up was a massive favorite of mine, and then the American and US tried to remake it, and it was just horrible. Um,
We have a great
I
reputation for ruining British television shows here in the
Yeah, it's
States.
just like you guys can't get it right. The only one that I will condone is The Office. I
Yeah.
personally like the Ricky Gervais Office better, but it's only 2 seasons of 6 episodes a season, so it's not long enough. But then we got Steve Carell is the reason that I fell in love with
Yeah.
The Office, and then watching all 10 seasons of it was just a thing. But yeah, every British show I've seen that the US have tried to remake has just not gone well at all.
No, there's been a couple of really, yeah, bad versions.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I just, we're talking about British TV made me remember another, a fourth show I could have put up on
Mm.
Mount Rushmore would have been Monty Python's Flying
Mhm.
Circus.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Money.
grew up on Monty Python as well. Again, another thing I can credit to my dad.
Yeah.
We watched, The Life of Brian, Holy Grail.
Ryan.
It's just yeah. I'm forever using me and Jamie and two of our other friends play D&D once a month, and I'm forever using the it is just a scratch. You know, when the guy loses his arm completely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Just a
flesh
flesh
wound.
wound. Yeah, flesh wound.
Yeah, they
So
were
good.
ahead of their times. Those guys.
Oh,
Um,
100%.
very witty
100%.
human comedy. Like even oh, you know what's really good? You remember Mr. Bean? Everyone remembers Mr. Bean. Um, his new show, like he did one called Man versus Bee, and then he did one called Man versus Baby, and they're both hilarious. But it's that awkward comedy where you can't watch. It's a train wreck. You're
Yeah,
always looking away. Um,
yeah. That's where a lot of the American adaptations go wrong, but they found the right sort of middle spot with The Office. Is Americans don't have the stomach for that awkward, really awkward, uncomfortable humor that the Brits have,
yeah,
and so they try to soften it, and then it just becomes nothing. It loses its originality because it just becomes the same as every other American show.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and in The Office, Steve Carell's character is certainly uh, nicer than Ricky Gervais's character,
yeah,
but
yeah,
there's still a lot of very awkward, horrible things that he does. And so they found a way to make it work, to translate it and yet still be fairly true to the original.
yeah, yeah. And what I really like about it is like that Steve Carell wasn't trying to be Ricky Gervais. He was making it his own
Yeah.
thing. We had the problem where we tried to do The Office in Australia. I don't think it got renewed, but the main actor was trying to be Steve Carell, and I'm going, it's not working.
Mm,
It's not going to work because you're just copying someone else.
yeah.
We've just lost Ryan. He's probably going to be back in a minute, resetting his internet. He lives in a very dodgy internet area. So what I like about it is that this is pre-recorded, so we can won't even know
Yeah.
that he's gone.
Yeah. Well, here we get our internet over the phone lines at the moment. We're hoping to upgrade to fiber optic this summer. There's a new company that's coming in and laying fiber optics even way out into the country in the woods where I live. But I have a detached office from the house, and so I don't have the internet goes into the house, but
Mm,
then here in my office, I'm on the Wi-Fi from the
yeah,
house, and I'm just like across the driveway from the house, so it's not very far, but sometimes it does get a little dodgy, as you say,
yeah,
being on the Wi-Fi. And yeah, and today, 2 or 3 times the power fluctuated. It never really went out, but it
yeah,
fluctuated enough. The lights would kind of dim and come back, and yeah, then the Wi-Fi router would have to reboot, and so I was working, and then I wouldn't have Wi-Fi, and so I couldn't check email until the router would cycle through.
yeah,
It's like, okay, finally I've got email back. And I really, since I'm a full-time freelancer,
mm,
I'm keeping an eye on my email all the time, because you never know when some sort of
yeah,
offer will come in that you want to just like, I want to be on top of that.
yeah.
um, I'm looking forward to, if we get this fiber optic in, because it's going to be like 6 times faster than what we get.
Yeah,
What we get now is still fast enough for watching, Netflix and
yeah.
everything,
Streaming.
but I will appreciate it being faster. And they also do it in a way that it's the same upload speed as the download speed, so that'll be
Okay, cool.
great, because when I'm doing proofing and some copy editing for IDW, um, sometimes I'm getting PDFs of full color PDFs of comic books, or
Oh wow, yeah,
sometimes I've done some copy editing of art books for them, and those can get to be pretty big files. And so if my internet isn't playing nicely, it'll take 45 minutes to upload something. It's ridiculous.
yep. We always make the joke because apparently Australians invented Wi-Fi, and yet our internet is the worst in the world. Um, it's just like take this thing that we've created, but our internet is shockingly slow.
I'm peeking in the background at your
Oh, my
stuff.
thing. It's
Yeah. Oh, you've got
Back to the Future.
Back to the Future there. Nice. That's fun.
That's the last Ronin IDW series.
Okay. Oh,
It's
yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's got all first printings um of the comics. One signed by Kevin Eastman. I got to meet him a couple of years ago, so that was really cool. And then over there's more Ninja Turtles,
Mm-hmm.
and then down there is Spider-Man and Daredevil. No, Deadpool.
Ah, okay.
And then
Okay.
below it's Stargate stuff and Horizon Zero Dawn stuff. But can you hear us, Ryan?
I'm going to try to carefully tip my laptop a little bit.
Oh,
So
oh wow.
it just go up on the top there is action figures. Oh, lose my microphone.
You're right.
And yeah, and then it goes all the way down to the
Oh my
floor
gosh.
and
Jeez.
side to side.
I hope you
Okay,
don't
this isn't working.
I hope you don't have to move anytime soon. Jeez.
I let's see. Is my mic still working?
I can hear you.
Okay. It was plugged into my laptop and was I kept knocking it over when I was trying to shift my laptop around. Yeah, when we moved here, I had to box up all my Star Trek stuff, and it was, I don't know, like 20 bankers boxes of books and CDs and DVDs and action figures and everything. It was
Yeah.
crazy. But we were up here a number of months before my detached office got built. So my Star Trek collection was just in boxes for months and months and months. And when I finally got the office built, it was so great to get everything out
Yeah.
and back on the shelves. And well, and I end up using these in my work when I'm editing stuff. I can, double check stuff, look it up in
Yeah.
the books, because you can do a lot of research on the internet, but
Yeah.
a lot of it isn't accurate. I don't know if you're familiar with the websites Memory Alpha or Memory Beta.
No, I mean they sound familiar, but I probably not enough.
They are, wiki-based, fan-made sites. Memory Alpha is strictly for the licensed books, and Memory Beta, I mean, I'm saying it backwards. Memory Alpha is for the TV shows and movies and everything, the real canon, and then from the studio's definition, and then Memory Beta is for the books and all the sort of related stuff. And there's a lot of really good, solid information on there, but there's also information that I don't know what people were thinking when they wrote it, because it's not true, it's not
Yeah.
accurate, it's not even something that you could pass off as a misunderstanding. It's just like, well, this is just completely wrong.
Yeah.
Like synopses of the novels, and they'll have subplots that
Yeah.
aren't in the novel. It's
Yeah.
like you've just made something up and stuck it in there. I don't know why you would do that.
Yeah.
So I always, go to the original source.
Yeah, that's good.
Pick up the book or pop in an episode or a movie and double check dialogue or little factoid things, because geeks in general, and certainly Star Trek fans, are notorious for remembering all those little nitpicky things. You got to get those right.
Yeah, fans can be very, very passionate.
Mm-hmm.
I just started
And
watching the new Scrubs, and I put out a post on X talking about my disappointment with One Direction, and I got attacked, and then other people
oh,
said, "Yeah, I kind of get it," and then the showrunner Bill Lawrence himself replied to my tweet, and I'm like,
wow.
what the? And he's explaining why they chose to do that, and I'm going like, oh, Now I feel like I got to keep watching it. You know.
Yeah, I haven't checked it out at all because I'm just afraid that I'm going to be disappointed.
Yeah. No,
Because my wife and I really enjoyed the original run.
yeah. I love Bill Lawrence. He's just a phenomenal writer. There's he rarely ever goes wrong, and yeah, I was the same. And I watched the first one. I liked it, but was at the same time was disappointed. But then once I sat on it and I kept watching more,
Mhm.
few more, it's good. It's really good because it's the same showrunners, it's the same people doing it, and
Yeah.
um, uh, there's a few missing people, but they're going to come back and throughout all the episodes. But um, he's winning me. He's winning me back. You know, but that classic series, the eighth season, ninth season was a bit, how you going?
Yeah,
But
it went a bit iffy at the end there. Yeah.
but it was supposed to be a spin-off, so um, we kind of get that. They're kind of forced to call it Scrubs, you know. But
Yeah. Yeah.
but they chose to ignore that with the new stuff. So yay!
Oh, that's good.
I think
Yeah, more franchises need to do that. That if
yeah,
there's a movie that comes out and it or series and
yeah.
it
Just
doesn't
ignore it.
work when you make the next one, just it never happened.
Yeah. The
Oh,
yeah.
I
I think
heard
he's
something
back.
almost.
Okay, he's
Sorry
on
about that. I'm
your
back.
There he is.
on your
Yeah,
tablet.
I had to switch to my tablet. Yeah. So it's for whatever reason, when I came back on, I could hear you guys, but you weren't moving. And then
Mm,
Zoom just booted me off. So I just thought, bugger it, I'll just get my tablet and
play
I'm
it
back.
safe. Yeah, cool. Well, let's keep it going. We did just talk about Scrubs a bit and the new one and the old
I
one
love stuff.
and Bill Lawrence, but we don't have time for that now. So Ryan, kick off the next question about zombies.
Yeah. What is your zombie apocalypse plan?
Strangely, I'm actually living part of my apocalypse plan because
Okay.
my wife and I used to live down in the Twin Cities, St. Paul, Minnesota, and I'm from northern Minnesota. I grew up out in the country in the woods, and I used to joke with my mom and her husband the over the last 10, 15 years or so that when the apocalypse came, whether it was like the zombie apocalypse or whatever, that we would be fleeing from the metro, from the cities, and we'd be coming up here to the house in the country. But now I actually live in the house in the country, safely away from all the big cities, because well, my mom's husband passed away a few years ago, and so suddenly she was an elderly woman living alone in this remote house out in the woods, and that didn't seem like a good idea. And so then my wife and I decided to move here. So that's half the apocalypse plan, the zombie apocalypse plan. I haven't started the like hoarding of food and weapons part of any proper zombie
Yeah.
apocalypse plan, but I'm in the nice remote location, far away from dense population, where the zombie virus will just rage through.
Yeah.
I'm safe from that.
Well, you've definitely got plenty of reading material if the apocalypse comes.
Yeah.
That's one bad thing about a bit reading digitally now is that if the apocalypse comes, my tablet will die in like 3 days, and I won't be able to charge it, and I won't be able to read anything. So yeah, that's one bad thing
Yes.
about not having a
Well,
physical
yeah,
collection.
I really want to get the house we live in is like the perfect orientation that one half of the roof needs to be covered with solar panels
Hmm.
so that we can be we would do really well in the summer with electricity and not really going off the grid, but then
Yeah.
if something really bad happened, we actually would
Yeah.
have power. So that's something we want to get done in the next few years, because the other part of being out in the woods here is that we do sometimes lose power, sometimes for days at a time. And
Wow.
if we had the solar panels up there everything would be fine for a
Yeah.
few days.
I like that idea. Yeah, especially if you've got the right orientation on your house, you know, to have the sun shining down on half of your roof, just solar
Yep.
panels, you know. And even if you only have to use it a couple of days out of a year for whatever reason, if power goes down because of a storm, it's still worth it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You're
Awesome.
prepped. Cool. All right, let's move on to the last icebreaker question, the fun one. And I think I may have an inkling on what your answer might be, but let's just say this. Dr. Emmett Brown leaves his DeLorean parked in your driveway. Where or when are you going?
And do I have to choose a single location, or can I use the car repeatedly?
I think
I think we
not too
said
crazy.
single.
I like to think it's like in Back to the Future 2 when Old Man Biff gets his hands on it. So you basically got safely there and back. You know. Unless you
Okay.
can orchestrate a way to get more plutonium to you know.
Well, I don't think you would guess this. Most people probably wouldn't guess this, but if I just had one trip, I would probably go back to classic 1950s Vegas when I could see all the classic, find the right like stretch of time where it's like where I could see Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., Dean Martin, Louis Prima, like the classic stuff, see them live. That would be something. Of course,
would you orchestrate the show like somehow to get them all perform at one location?
Well, I think if the timing was right, they'd all be performing at various casinos over the course of a week or something. Just be able to like get them all in there. Because of course, if I could get more plutonium, then there would just be like a series of things that the next up would have to be like the 60s and 70s, because then I'd want to see the Doors, Jimi Hendrix, the Who, Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, see all those guys in their prime, back then. So that's
music tour. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what you could do, I mean, I'm a loophole guy, so what you could do is you could always, say, for example, you did the Vegas thing, you went to Vegas for a week, you saw all those amazing artists, but instead of going back to when you left, you could go back to 10 minutes before you left, and then that way the DeLorean back to normal with plutonium in it, and then you can go to the keep doing it over and over again.
Wow.
You just have to go back 10 minutes every single time. So, because if you did the 60s and 70s then and went back 10 minutes before you left, technically you would have used that plutonium in the first trip. So you have to keep going back in increments of 10 minutes. So that'll work.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm getting too old to just like go back and live through it.
Yeah.
That loophole really wouldn't work for me, because I don't want to add another 10, 15 years on my life to see them. I'd want to just be able to, pinpoint.
Oh, okay. So you just want everything easy. You don't want to do the work for it. I see.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of loopholes in or plot holes in Back to the Future itself. The biggest one for me is in number 3, where like Doc goes back to the West and then buries the DeLorean. So then Marty can get it in the 50s, and then he goes back to say, and then they puncture the fuel line, but there's a DeLorean buried there while they're using the train to push it. Like they could just they could patch the fuel, dig up the DeLorean, get the fuel, put it in the new, and leave.
Oh man, it's been so long since I've watched those.
Yeah,
I can't quite remember. I'm gonna have to watch. It's one of those things. I own the whole thing on disc, but it's been on DVD, so it's from it's been sitting on my shelf unwatched for probably 10, 15 years now.
Yeah. Opposite to me, I watch it every Christmas, all three of them back to back.
Oh, nice.
I love them. I love it to death.
Yeah, I late last year I got to go and see the first one in the cinemas for the 30th anniversary or something, or 40th anniversary. I'm not sure, but yeah, my local cinema was playing Back to the Future, and I thought, wow, I'm going to see that for sure. I had
Great.
nothing to do on a Saturday, and I could obviously I never saw the first one in the cinemas, so
Mm.
it was really good to actually see it. It is definitely a movie to watch on the big screen.
Yep. Cool. Well, you survived the icebreakers. Now we're going to talk.
And my crappy internet.
And you're crappy.
My crappy internet.
Because of my awesome editing skills, they will never know,
Mhm.
Ryan. They will never know. They'll just
There
say,
you
"Hey,
go.
why is Ryan suddenly further away?" That's all they'll ask.
Yeah. And why do I have that angelic aura back again?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Highlight.
That's it. All right, Scott, let's get to the whole point of the show. You love comics, we love comics, so therefore we're going to ask the question, what is your author origin story? How did it start for you?
Way back when I was like 12 or so, childhood friend, I grew up with these kids, and a brother and sister were two of my best friends growing up through elementary school. And when I was, like I said, in like, I don't know, fifth or sixth grade maybe, one of my friends said that she was going to write a novel. She just like said, I'm going to write a novel. And I thought, well, that sounds fun. I'm going to write a novel. And so I started writing a really, atrociously bad derivative novel that probably only got 15 pages, handwritten in a spiral notebook. But that was enough that I realized, wow, I love writing. So by the time I was in seventh grade, I already knew it's like, I want to be a writer. And so from that point on, I just started writing and submitting stories, horribly bad stories, because, I had just started. I didn't know what I was doing. It was, and I've just been pursuing that ever since. Slowly stumbling around from, one, a big break here, a big backward step there. and so, yeah, that's, and I was focused on science fiction right from the beginning, because as I was mentioning earlier, science fiction shows really grabbed me from the time I was, first, second grade, starting with Star Trek. And so then I kind of gravitated toward science fiction. I was reading all the science fiction books that were in the school library. Back in elementary schools when I first read the Martian Chronicles, and that was a huge book for me. Started reading some Isaac Asimov stuff, Foundation, and getting into high school, read The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings for the first time, and so I was really, from the beginning, really focused on genre fiction. Strangely, though, my first professional sale was not genre fiction at all. It was a short story about a retired farming couple out here in the country, in the farm country where I grew up. It was very much inspired by the landscape around me as a child and people I knew in a very small town. My hometown is named Carlton, Minnesota. And when I was growing up, the population sign outside of Carlton was population 896.
Wow.
And so, I grew up in a very small town. My entire high school, from 7th through 12th grade, junior and senior high, was in one place. And the population of all those grades was the same amount of people that was in my wife's graduating class, because my wife grew up down in the cities and I grew up here in the woods. So it's like my entire junior and senior high school all together was like 500 kids, She had 500 kids in her class. When she attended graduation, she was sitting next to someone that she didn't remember ever seeing before. And I think also that part of my origin story as an author is because, I mean, I had friends and everything, but I was an only child growing up out in the woods. I had a lot of alone time.
Yeah.
I had a lot of time for my imagination to just, take over.
Yeah.
And so I think that that really fed in to my storytelling. And then, then I started, finding role-playing games and stuff like that. And that also obviously is a big storytelling thing when you're playing D&D or whatever role-playing game. And so I just pursued writing. Strangely, I never wrote fan fiction. It seems weird looking back that I never did any fan fiction, especially being a raving Star Trek fan from the time I was a kid. And, becoming, I slowly had become aware of that there was this thing called fan fiction. But that's another thing. For a long time, I didn't know about fan fiction because I just grew up in the country.
Yeah.
I didn't have access to things. When you're talking with an old person like myself, when everything is like pre-internet and pre-cable TV, when you go back far enough, there's an isolation there where you don't know what's going on with other people and other things. And so I never wrote any fan fiction. But then way back like 20 years ago, Simon & Schuster, that had the Star Trek fiction license and still does, they started a series of contest anthologies called Strange New Worlds, long before there was the TV show. And people could submit their stories, and it was contest based, and it was for beginning writers. You had to have less than 3 professional sales to be eligible to enter the Strange New Worlds contest.
Wow.
And so I started entering it, and then I think it was 2004. That's when I first placed a story. And so that was my second professional sale. And then a couple of years later, I got another short Star Trek short story in another Strange New Worlds anthology. And that was my third professional sale. So then at that point, I was eliminated from the competition. But then the editor at that time, Marco Palmieri, he invited me to pitch for the Star Trek Next Generation 20th anniversary anthology. So that would have been coming out in 2007, the 20th anniversary. And so I got a story in there. And then he invited me back to pitch for their Myriad Universes anthologies. They did 3 of those, and those were 3 novellas in each book by different authors. And this was like, what is it? Is it DC that has the Elseworlds? So it's like an alternate timeline thing. And so you had to pick something, some sort of memorable moment in the canon, in the film and TV canon, and then, have your story zig instead of zagging and go somewhere different. And so I did a alternate timeline sort of sequel to The Trouble with Tribbles.
Right.
Because if you remember the original series episode, it's kind of fun. I mean, it's done humorously, but the strange thing about it, what attracted me to it, I love the episode, but if you think about it, so Nils Barris is the guy that you love to hate that calls them to the station for the emergency. And when Kirk and the gang get there, they don't perceive that there is an emergency. They think the guy is just a total jerk. And but then, of course, eventually you realize in the episode that Kirk has been wrong all along, and the annoying guy has been right all along, that the Klingons were there and they were trying to sabotage the grain and everything. But the only reason the plot is uncovered isn't because of anything Kirk or Spock or anyone does, our heroes. it's just the chance that the tribbles were there and ate the poison grain and died. So they discover entirely by accident this Klingon plot. And so the setup for my short novel is, what if the tribbles weren't there? They wouldn't have realized the grain was poisoned. The grain would have been shipped off to a colony. What happens then? Everyone dies. What are the political ramifications? And so my short novel then also features Nils Barris, that annoying Undersecretary of Agriculture or whatever he was. I can't remember what his title was. He's kind of the main character of my story, but then I also make it a Citizen Kane story. The novel starts with his death and him having mysterious words on his deathbed, and then a reporter trying to figure out. And it covers like 100 years. It spans from the original series into the Next Generation Deep Space Nine timeline, and you learn all the political ramifications that happened because of the tribbles not being there. And so those are some of my big breaks that really kind of settled me into my writing career. But then I mentioned that there's also setbacks. Publishing can be a very difficult business. And my editor, Marco Palmieri, was laid off by Simon & Schuster. And that, for the most part, ended my Star Trek writing career for Simon & Schuster. But then I ended up getting hired as their freelance copy editor because they were looking for a new copy editor and they wanted someone who was familiar with the franchise. And my name came up as a person who was definitely familiar with the franchise, had written for them, and had also become a professional editor by then. And so that started a new phase in my career where the being an editor was a much bigger part, trying to be a writer and having, whatever jobs, working in a bookstore or whatever. But I, over the years, transitioned into having a day job as an editor and still pursuing my writing. And so, and so flash forward decades, here I am writing and editing. And, my editing informs my writing informs my editing. I just love being immersed in books.
Yeah. I mean, what was it like? Seriously, like, you get to work on all this Star Trek stuff. Like, are you a little kid inside? Like, what was it like that
Yes.
moment when you got to start doing it? Were you like, oh my gosh, is this real? Like,
there are still days where I'm just like, it hits me. It's like, I get paid to work on Star Trek.
Yeah.
It still can strike me. And there are lots of days where it's just like, yeah, this is just my job, and I don't really think about it as any. It's just like, well, this is my job. But then it's like, yeah, my job is working on Star Trek, so I'm editing the novels or proofreading the comic books or editing the role-playing game, and it really is amazing. And I've been doing it now for, I was originally published in Star Trek fiction back in the 2006, 2000, somewhere in there in like the up to 2010, I think, was my last Star Trek publication as fiction. But then I spent 10 years as the copy editor on the novel line. Now I'm the developmental editor. And then it's just in the last, it's been about, I think, 8 years that I've been working on the Star Trek Adventures role-playing game. I've been working on that since, from the beginning. I was first contacted by them to come on as an editor and a writer to help develop a storyline that they were going to use to play test the game before the game was actually published. So I've been working with them since before the game came out. and then it's just over the last year, little over a year now, that I've been proofreading the comic books. So there have been work days for me where I'm like all day is Star Trek, where I've got a novel to edit, a role-playing, supplemental book to edit, a comic book to proofread. It's amazing.
And the fact that you can tell that you're a true fan, because after doing that for work, however many hours a day, you can still enjoy it in your free time as well as doing it for work. Some people, what they do for work, if I, not me, because I'm a weird and I would love it all the time, but there are some people that would be, working on that all day and then get home and they're like, I just cannot watch or read or see anything Star Trek until I have to go to work tomorrow. The fact that, you get to do it and you still enjoy it and you've been doing it for so long, it's amazing.
It is, it is kind of weird because, I have both this fan relationship with the franchise and this professional relationship, and it, comes together because I'm always going to be watching Star Trek no matter what happens. The work I do is very fickle. Things could change and I might not be editing anymore. I might not be, it's like you never know what's going to happen in publishing. But I would still be watching the show. But yeah, now there's a professional angle to it that it's like, well, I have to watch the shows because I might be editing a book that's spinning off one of the shows, and I have to make sure, that's one of the things. Part of when you're working with an IP, with a franchise, you have to make sure that your print stuff lines up with the stuff on film.
Yep.
And so the authors and the editors, everyone is really striving to make sure that everything fits together. And sometimes it changes. It just changed recently, one of the books I was editing, and then I watched it was a few weeks ago. I was working on a book during the day, and then that night it was like, oh, no, I'm going to watch the new episode of Starfleet Academy, and they said a few things on there that was like, whoops.
Yeah.
Email the author, did you watch the episode? We got to fix a couple things. And so it's crazy. I back when Discovery started, I was the copy editor on the novels back then, and I was going to be copy editing the first Discovery tie-in book by David Mack, and I was going to be copy editing that prior to the show airing. And so they wanted me to, have a little bit more familiarity with the characters, and so I was put on the script distribution list. So I was getting the scripts for the shows long before the shows air. There was all sorts of NDAs signed. I had the non-disclosure agreement signed with Simon and Schuster. I had the non-disclosure agreement signed with CBS Paramount, and so that's another thing where it's like, yes, this is a professional arrangement. I'm working on this, but there's still the part of me that's just like, holy crap, I'm getting these scripts.
You're in the inner circle. You've made it into, the creative. That's awesome. That's awesome. And you know what? Being, that you were saying you have to, watch the shows and everything. I mean, that means you can buy the DVDs and claim them back on tax. So there you go.
Yes. It just, almost anything I buy Star Trek, well, not anything, just I wouldn't try to deduct merch like action figures or something, but yeah, all the books, if I buy anything on disc, that kind of thing, or certain reference books, those are definitely valid tax deductible items.
I've got to figure out a way how to get in with Sony so I can write off my PS5 games as tax deductibles. And that's the dream. That's the dream, being able to collect what you love and essentially claim it back as a work expense.
Yep. So do you have any when you with all your editing, when all these Star Trek novels come along, do you ever think this is a bad plot point? I wish they'd changed this, but you have to keep it to yourself? Like you don't have to name names or anything, but like, are there any decisions that writers make? You're going like, come on.
Well, I mean, the gang of writers that do the Star Trek novels have been doing it for decades. I know them as friends. I worked
Yeah,
them with copy editors, and they all know what they're doing.
yeah,
But it's subjective. So
yeah,
you get the manuscript. My job as the developmental editor is to say, look at something and say, well, I mean, usually what it really is turning it up to 11.
yeah,
It's like, I'll read a scene and I might say, well, what if this happened? Or what if we did this? And you go back and forth
yeah,
and maybe the author agrees with me and says, yeah, I'm going to juice that up. That makes sense. Or maybe the author disagrees with me and says, no, I don't think so because of this and this and this. And then at that point, it's usually like, oh yeah, okay, I get it. That makes sense. So I've not had any juicy stories
no,
to come out of my work in that
no,
regard.
no.
Of course, not that I would tell you if I had, but but I haven't. In other editing ventures, I used to be a nonfiction editor. I used to be an in-house editor at a nonfiction publisher, and I worked with a lot of writers there that were experts in their field, but not necessarily polished writers.
Yeah,
In nonfiction, you're often working with novice writers because they know the subject matter. And so when you're working with people that aren't as familiar with the business and how you put a book together, that leaves you open to there being more sort of awkward situations, kind of
yeah,
going back and forth with the author, trying to get on the same page. But it's always, I think I said earlier that my editing informs my writing and my writing informs my editing.
mm,
I find it very easy to work as an editor with writers, even if they're very in the beginning, because I've been there. So it's like I can relate to them. I can be
yeah,
diplomatic. I can, help them, help ease them into the business, because that's where some of the conflict comes up
yeah,
sometimes is writing, any art, writing, movies or whatever. There's the art side of it and there's the business side of it.
yeah,
And sometimes you're trying to find a happy middle ground there where you're true to the author's intent, but you might be mentioning this isn't going to sell that well, this isn't going to, when I was working in nonfiction, um, sometimes it was sensitive subjects, or sometimes when a writer has a very strong political point of view,
mm,
and if they start being insulting toward the other political point of
yeah,
view, if it's really not integral to what the book is actually about,
yeah,
then you say, hey, maybe you could tone that down a little bit because we want to sell this book
yeah,
on World War II. There are people who like reading about World War II that are both liberals and conservatives.
yeah,
You don't
yeah,
want to just target half the
yeah.
audience, you want the whole audience. And
It's the
so,
famous Michael Jordan quote: "Republicans buy sneakers too." It's just like
yeah, yeah. And so, I've been in situations where that became a problem where you were like, let's not say this. That's
yeah,
and the writer is like, but that's how I feel. It's like, well, you know, I'm not trying to argue. I'm not going to try to
like
convince you otherwise. I'm
yeah,
just saying that, we might not want to alienate the
half
people
the
since
yeah,
it's not a book. If it's a book about politics, then of course,
yeah,
alienate all you want. But if it's
yeah,
a book on some other subject, then you really don't need to bring up those things.
yeah,
So, yeah.
100%. Yeah, I'm
But I
all
don't have to deal
for
with that much now dealing
no,
in fiction.
yeah, yeah, no,
After 10 years in-house at nonfiction, when I got laid off, as happens often to editors in publishing houses, when I got
yeah,
laid off, I was like, now I'm going to be fiction. I've
yeah,
done my nonfiction 10
yeah,
years. Now I need fiction, and hopefully, genre fiction, since that's
yeah,
my,
you change,
lifelong love.
yeah. Look, I feel we'd be remiss, or Ryan would be, if we didn't talk about some of your horror, because we could talk about Star Trek all day, but
Yeah.
look, I might bring up your Amazon page, because there's You got a lot of books. I'm just going to say that come up.
Yeah, well, I've primarily my published output so far has been short stories, and so I'm in a lot of anthologies over the years.
Yep. So I don't know. I might go from the top. Ryan, what stands out to you? And I'll click on it, and you can ask him some questions. There's a lot of Star Trek for some reason.
Yeah, well, we've talked a lot about Star Trek, which is
Yeah.
great. But
The Castle of Horror.
is that part of an anthology, or is that something you wrote?
Yes, the Castle of Horror anthology series is they do, I think, usually about one a year. It's been a little slower recently, and each one has a theme. Like the one you've pulled up there, Thinly Veiled Saturday Mornings. The gimmick for this one was that your story had to be inspired by a Saturday morning television show.
Awesome.
Mostly those are cartoons here in the States, but there's some live action stuff too. And so you had to take your inspiration from one of those stories, but then you twist it, so it's not a total like
copyright.
Yeah, you make it your own, you change things, but you take your inspiration from a specific show, and it is a horror anthology series, and so you inject horror into whatever thing you've chosen. So for this particular one, I chose an animated show that was called C-Lab 2020. That was about an underwater scientific research base, which then actually has been made into a comedy. I think they called it C-Lab 2021. It was one of those things where they took the original show and then like redubbed different dialogue and turned it into a parody of itself. And but I was doing a straight, I didn't want to do a comedy. I wanted to do a straight horror story. And so I have this deep sea research base that's like perched on the edge of the Mariana Trench. And they're exploring way, way, way down there in the deepest part of the oceans. And they start encountering some very sort of Lovecraftian horror. And so I took Lovecraft horror and injected it into this underwater base. Had a lot of fun writing it. Themed anthologies are such a great inspiration for writers because all the stories that I've written for the Castle of Horror series, I wouldn't have necessarily ever come up with the idea without the prompt to say, here's the theme. And then it sparks an idea.
Right. This one really caught me. Women running from houses.
Yes, because if you look at the covers of books from like back in the 60s and 70s, there was this whole genre of sort of gothic romance novels where the covers there was always a woman running from a house or a castle or kind of in silhouette, it'd be a very foreboding looking thing. And so you had to write something within that. And I came up with a science fiction horror story. It's about a woman scientist who is experimenting. She's got this brain-computer interface thing, which allows you to basically program lucid dreaming.
Wow.
And she's pursuing this research as a way to use it for therapy for people who have sleep disorders and stuff like that. But then things start getting weird, and when she's doing the test, she's testing it on herself in some cases, and so she's goes to sleep wearing the little electrodes on her head or whatever, expecting to run these little tests, and she's trying to fine tune the equipment, but then she keeps finding herself that she's like playing a role in a very gothic women running from a house kind of scenario, where it seems like maybe there's ghosts or something, creepy going on. But that's not what she's programmed into the device. And so she doesn't know what's happening. And so it's this kind of, I wanted to use all the like Gothic motifs,
Yeah.
but I wanted to modernize it and have a modern female character that wouldn't be the kind of damsel in distress that was, a part of the old school novels.
Yep.
And so I made her very contemporary. And so there's like these gaslighting elements going on, and the sci-fi part of it. Had a lot of fun writing that. Writer friend of mine by the name of Kelly Fitzpatrick was my beta reader, because, my main character in this story is this scientist in her late 20s. And, I'm a guy that was writing this when I was in my late 50s. And I think I'm a pretty liberal guy that understands various things, but I wanted to get a woman to come in of a comparable age to my character and read the story. So Kelly came in, read the story, gave me some great notes on how she thought the character would react. She was like, oh, I think in this scene, the character would be more angry. In this scene, this might happen. So I was able to fine tune that character. And it was a lot of fun. Have we lost Ryan?
No. What happens? What happens is when he plays with his tablet, which usually means he's buying some of your books, like his screen, his camera turns off, so he's scrolling and whatnot.
Camera, yeah. I bought the first three of the Castle of Horror.
I should have jumped in before you started purchasing anything, because if you buy my most recent self-published book that's called The Sad Rains of Mars, New and Collected Stories, you would get all of my stories that have been published in the Castle of Horror anthologies, along with some other stories.
I see.
And I'm gonna get them all of the Castle of Horror, just because your stories are in there. But I mean, I love horror anthologies.
Okay, great.
I absolutely love them. So yeah, I'm waiting for payday to get the rest, because I have to pay my vehicle registration this pay, and I'm very short on funds. But I did grab the first three.
They are great anthologies.
I like the idea of just having a set topic and everyone writing a different story about it. And those kind of
because
the
the variety, you have this one, you have this specific theme to write to, but the variety with which different authors approach that same theme is amazing. Like in the Saturday morning one, where I took the C-Lab 2020 and wrote my Lovecraftian underwater base thing, well, one of the people chose the Smurfs and then wrote this, like gruesome murder mystery thing that's like a Smurf thing. I mean, it's like never in a million years would I have thought of doing that. So yeah, it's you'll see a great variety of stuff, and tonally, some stuff is more funny, some stuff is more horrific, some stuff is very dark and grim, some stuff is a little bit more in the middle. So yeah, if you're a horror fan, I'm certain you'll enjoy the Castle of Horror series. Yeah.
It's what happens when you see Ryan looking a little distracted. It usually means he's buying something. So he's not being rude. He's just going like, "You've sold me. I need it."
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. Yeah, but no, as I've said many times, my TBR list grows with every podcast. And every time I go on X, it seems to grow as well, because X is all I follow on X is authors. And someone's got a new book out or it's on sale or something. It's like, damn it. But my TBR list at the moment is, I think, 161. So but I do read a lot, so I will get through that. But I've read 7 books so far this year, so I'm trying to get to 50 this year, but I think I'll be fine.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That is one of the upsides to editing fiction. I'm editing in genres that I enjoy. It is work, but I am getting to read lots of books that I don't have to pay for, and in fact, I get paid to do the reading. And so, and the other thing that's fun about that is that it is kind of random. So I end up reading books sometimes that it's not a book that I would have thought to buy on my own, and then I start working on it, and it's like, wow, this thing is great. And so I've discovered authors that I really love by ending up copy editing their work. And then sometimes if it's a series, then they like bringing back the same copy editor, and so I end up working on 2-3 books in a series by an author and loving every minute of it. So, but
yeah, I credit the podcast for that as well. I've discovered so many amazing authors that I never would have known to look for just over the last 5 or 6 years since we started doing this podcast. It's just absolutely phenomenal. I've gone from a completely traditional publisher reader only, to pretty much 95% indie. So I mean, yeah, it's pretty damn good. I'm happy with that.
Yeah. So what are you working on at the moment, other than like your Star Trek stuff? Like personally, like let's say, writing wise, what's some projects in the works?
The main project right now is the 3rd volume in the Tales of the Weird World War series. That's an indie thing. That's a self-publishing thing I'm doing with a writer friend of mine, William Leisner. And I approached him a few years ago, probably 5 years ago now. We're kind of doing these in slow motion, but I had decided I wanted a self-publishing project. And I thought that it would be fun to kind of approach it as a shared world kind of thing. The idea being that it would be quicker because I wouldn't be doing all the writing. And so I developed an idea where there are shape-shifting monsters appearing in the world that take on human form. And no one really knows where they're coming from, what they're up to. And it's kind of confusing at first because some of them seem to just be living ordinary human lives, even though they're, entirely not human if you see them before they've shapeshifted into a human form. So that was the basic idea, but I also love period stuff. And so I came up with this concept where the invasion, although it's not really an invasion because they're just kind of trickling in, they don't seem to have, at least at first, they don't seem to have any real motive, any big plans, but it starts in the 40s. And so volume 1 of the series is set in 1948 in Los Angeles. And my contribution, because we're not doing a traditional co-author thing, we each write a separate novella.
Oh, wow.
And we coordinate with each other to make sure that we're not messing up the continuity.
Yeah.
And I had put together a vague outline of like, here's the state of things in the 40s, here's the state of things in the 50s, etc. But so we coordinate, sometimes characters from one of my stories turns up in his or vice versa. But we each, go to our separate corners and write a novella and just like keep in touch, keep each other updated. So my story for the 1948 volume was called The Big Dark, and it's a private detective who gets mixed up in cases that have been involving these monsters. And I love film noir stuff. I love the movie, classic movies, the Maltese Falcon, that kind of stuff. And so it's a period sort of detective noir sci-fi alternate timeline monster horror mashup. And that's as we discuss more of my work, you'll see that I am often mashing up genres. Almost everything I write kind of fits under the umbrella of science fiction,
Yep.
but then it'll have mystery elements or horror elements or, period elements. When I was writing, I can't remember if I've admitted this on podcasts before, maybe I have, but when I was writing The Big Dark, I'd be writing on my word processor, but then I put it in first person because classic noir stuff often has that first person narration. So I would write it and then I would read it aloud in a bad Humphrey Bogart impression because I wanted to make sure that it had the rhythm of the time period, the kind of dialogue that you would hear in a 1940s detective movie. And so it was tons of fun. But then my buddy Bill Eisner wrote his, and that had a whole different setting in a whole different place. And then volume 2 was set in the 50s. And my story has kind of a, people think that these monsters are maybe they're aliens or something. And so I wanted to go with a 1950s sci-fi movie vibe. Bill went with a sort of that there's a movie being made in Japan, and it's a very, it's clearly meant to be Godzilla, but it's, not called Godzilla. So he was playing off that. But we are now both working on our volume 3. So now this has jumped into the 60s. And the alternate timeline aspect of the series is becoming much more prominent as you go through the decades, because in the beginning, the government was able to kind of keep things secret and they were trying to figure out what was happening. But now it's gotten to the point in the 60s where just about everyone has heard of the monsters. They know someone who knows someone who's encountered one. There's a whole new government agency that's been created, back in the 50s to really start trying to get to the bottom of this monster thing. And they're discovering that there seems to be like 3 different species of these shape-shifting monsters. So there's still not a lot of, the humans still don't know a lot of what is really going on, but they're learning more and more. So that is my main project. I'm working on mine that's set in the 60s, that's set against the backdrop of assassinations, since that was a lot of what was going on here in the States in the 60s. And Bill's working on one that's dealing with Cuba and the revolution and the interaction between Cuba and the States. But then we're taking these real life events, but then we're changing them up and putting a bunch of monsters in there. So that's fun, but it's, proceeding in kind of a slow motion right now. We've had trouble writing. I don't want to get too far into the depressing, political news of the world, but there's the ICE agents that have been put into Minnesota over the last month or so. Then they've been, killing people in the streets. And so us Minnesotans have been having a rough time psychologically getting through this. Some of the violence happened very close to where my daughter lives. My daughter still lives down there. So there's been a lot of stress, but so the writing has kind of slowed to a stop, and I've just been kind of burying myself in my work. And for some reason, I find watching the MonsterVerse Godzilla and King Kong movies very comforting. So I've been rewatching. It's like I bought them all on 4K, and I go into my home theater with my big screen TV, and I watch monsters destroying cities. And for some reason, that's very relaxing when I'm worried about the state of the world. So, but I'm noodling around a little bit on the cover because I've done the cover design for the series so far, and so I'm, it's going slowly, but that's the main project right now, is the Tales of the Weird World War Volume 3. That's the main thing.
We'll keep an eye out for that. Now we are going to play a game. But first, bit of a new segment because we get a lot of new and upcoming authors, the authors themselves, listening in on this
Mhm.
podcast. So we like to ask our guests a little bit of advice, and I think
Sure.
maybe we'll focus on the editing side of you. Like maybe you want to talk about some of the most common mistakes or things that come to you when you get
Hmm.
the manuscript and you're like, this happens all the time. Like, is there maybe something to help authors, keep an eye on things before they go, okay, this is ready for an editor?
Sure. I think one of the most common things that uh, is a challenge for beginning writers for some reason is how to properly punctuate dialogue. And there are some aspects of punctuation with dialogue and dialogue tags, the he
Mm.
said, she said
Yeah,
things. Um, there are some elements of it that can get more complicated
yeah,
matters of style, but most of it's pretty straightforward. But it does seem to trip up a lot of indie authors. And the strange thing about it is, of course, there's very few writers that are writing that aren't, you know, big readers. It's like they
yeah,
start writing because they love to read
right, yeah,
and they want to tell their own stories. And so that these authors are reading all sorts of books with all sorts of dialogue in them,
yeah,
but then it doesn't uh, the stuff when you're reading a story, you get into the story, and some of those, the mechanical nuts and bolts of the
yeah,
writing doesn't stick in your head because
yeah,
you're in the story.
yeah,
And so when you sit down to write your own story, the fact that you've read all these books and seen all this dialogue punctuated, that isn't working in your head when you're
yeah,
writing your own. So one thing I would say is, when you start writing your dialogue, when you're working on your first stories, open up some of your favorite novels and take a look at how it works, because
yeah,
there's just some fairly simple, straightforward things, and yeah, it gets messed up in a lot of the indie author stuff, and so that's something that I'm often fixing. Um, a lot of things, a lot of picky style things. It would be nice if the author had a more rounded knowledge of some of that stuff,
yeah,
but I mean, but it's more important to have a good story,
yeah,
and because you can get a copy editor or an editor or something to help you polish the little finicky things. But it doesn't matter how perfectly punctuated anything is if it's not a good story.
yeah,
So um, the other advice I would have for any beginning writer is, pretty simple, straightforward. It's just like, you got to read to write, so you have to keep reading everything. The other thing that I always tell people is, try to take some writing classes or get in a writers group. um, and I'm not saying that, I have a creative writing degree. I went to college and got my
mm,
BA in writing, but I do not in any way, shape, or form think that you have to get a degree in writing
yeah,
to be a writer. You do not. A lot of my writer friends do not have English degrees or writing degrees. You just start writing because you love it, because you have
yeah,
this compulsion to tell a story. Um, but especially when you're starting out, you need feedback to help
yeah,
learn and get better. And so that's why taking a class or having a writers group is an important part of developing your craft.
yeah,
And you have to be able to take criticism
yeah,
and really reflect upon it, and and be able to realize, oh yeah, maybe that wasn't the best way to have that character behave, or the best
yeah,
way to write that sentence, or the best way to start that story or end that story. And once you start giving a lot of feedback, then you can really start growing and getting better. I
yeah,
mean, it's like anything, whether it's if it's a sport, it's
yeah,
like, you might want to play baseball or football or whatever, but it's like, you're not going to be great the first time you get out there. And people who go into sports, they have coaches,
yeah,
and that give them pointers.
Yeah.
And so it's the same thing with writing, is that I think it can be, it's like we know our language, we have our language that we speak, and we have computers now, you can type things, so it's very easy to take a bunch of words and put them on a page, and it's very easy to like click and you've put out an ebook.
Yep.
And I think that the ease with which that happens sometimes can create a sort of false sense
Yeah.
of really like, I'm a writer.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, yeah, you're a writer, but you haven't practiced yet. You haven't had a coach.
Yeah.
There is a craft to learn there, and getting the feedback is what helps you.
Yeah. 100%.
And then you just got to keep at it.
Yeah, it's better, having that group around you than writing for years and then going back and looking at your earlier stuff and you're going like, ugh. Yeah, when people could have told you, ugh.
I still have this vivid memory, because I mentioned earlier that I started writing like when I was in 6th or 7th grade or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I was writing all through high school, thinking I was brilliant. And then I got into college and had my first writing class in college. And I had this moment, this revelation where, we got this assignment to write this little essay, and I had this great writing teacher. And so I really listened to everything that he had said about how to craft a story and craft a sentence. And I took everything that he had told me and I really put it into writing this little 3-page, sort of reminiscence. It was like, you were supposed to write out like a childhood memory or something.
Yeah.
And so I wrote my childhood memory, and I got done writing it, and I went back and I read through it, and I just thought, wow, everything I've written before this was crap.
Yeah.
It's like the light came on. It's like this piece that I produced with everything that I had taken in from that teacher at that point.
Yeah.
It was just light years beyond anything I'd done over the previous 10 years. I was just like, wow, this and then of course, if I were to go back and read that piece now, that it would be so amateurish.
Yeah.
Because now over the decades since, I've grown that much more.
Yeah.
And so you really, you never stop learning, really.
Yeah.
You never stop. You keep reading, you keep writing, you keep finding different stories to tell and finding different ways to tell stories.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Well, let's get to the game. I think this game, you are going to do very well at this game. It's pop. You see, a lot of people go, I'm going to be bad at this, and they tell us the best stories. So I'll bring up the graph so you know what's going on.
Yes, I'm a little terrified of this game because I'm a slow writer. I don't just like, boom, 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 pitch things.
Yep.
I think I would be terrible in a writer's room because everyone would be pitching stuff and I would just be like sitting there mulling over something in great detail.
Yeah.
And so, the idea of just leaping into let's just do this. It's scary, but
it's
okay, let's go.
It's all right. Yeah. So the game is called Story Pitch. We're going to give you a setting, a genre, a main character's profession, and a crazy addition. You just got to give us a number between 1 and 12 for each of them, and then me and Ryan have access to a graph, and we'll give you what you're getting. So when you're ready, give us 4 different numbers between 1 and 12.
Okay, so we'll just work our way across from setting. Let's see, 3.
3, yep.
And then how about 7 for genre?
Yep.
Let's see, 11 for character's profession. And I don't know, let's see, I don't think I've said 4. 4 for crazy addition.
Excellent. All right. Let's see what you get. Okay. Well, we had this one the last 3 episodes in a row, but you are in a suburban cul-de-sac.
Okay. I can relate to that.
Awesome. Your genre is fantasy.
Fantasy in a cul-de-sac? Your main character is a computer hacker.
And your crazy addition, which is something or someone that must appear in your story, is Batman.
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 Yeah. So it's a fantasy set in the cul-de-sac. Your main character is a computer hacker, and you got to have Batman. Now, for the record, Batman doesn't have to be in it all the time. He can just pop in and say hello, and that's it. You know, like, so no pressure with that. But he's got to be there. You know.
Oh, okay. So, okay, computer hacker, fantasy, cul-de-sac, Batman.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think I'm going to have to go a bit Tronish with this. I mean, so you've got the hacker, and
Mhm.
he is trying to use his computer to, somehow, tap into the quantum world and see if he can find other alternate dimensions. And he's in the classic cul-de-sac. He's got his computer set up in the basement. He's a teenager. He's a teenager down in the basement.
Yeah.
It's also very E.T., isn't it? That was
Yeah.
on a cul-de-sac. And of course, in his mind, he's looking to break into, the cyber world. He reads William Gibson. He wants to be in the cyberpunk. He doesn't want to be living in his boring cul-de-sac. He wants to be in the exciting, world of the Matrix and Snow Crash and everything that William Gibson has written. But unfortunately, when he finally has a breakthrough and is able to open up some sort of portal using his computer, instead he finds himself, he's like, what the hell is this? Now I'm in Narnia. It opens up into a fantasy world. And which is very problematic for him because he's used to dealing with everything from a point of view of technology. But when he gets shifted into the other world, it's all wizards and magics and stuff. He doesn't know how to make anything work. So yeah, his main struggle is going to be, like finding his way back home without technology. He has to rely on, all the like fairies and gnomes and hobbits and stuff to find his way home. And but with perseverance, he's learning a bit that he can maybe stretch beyond his technological world, and he eventually gets back to his cul-de-sac. He's thinking, well, maybe life on the boring cul-de-sac wasn't that bad. I'm in control. I'm back in the real world. Everything is fine. And then a shadow falls across him and his keyboard, and he turns around and hears the famous line, "I'm Batman."
See? Brilliant. I approve. Oh, another line could have been like, he leans over the keyboard and goes, "Gotham needs you."
Oh, that's better. Much better.
Awesome. How do you think
I
of that,
was
Ryan?
listening to, I can't remember which author it was, but I was listening to one of the shows and I was just astonished because, I mean, what did I just do there? Maybe 5 minutes?
Yeah.
And this guy, it was like 20
Bam, bam, bam.
minutes.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe the amount of stuff he and arcs, and I mean, it was amazing. Yeah, and that's my mind doesn't work like that. So this was a fun challenge for me to try to do this. I wrote. I mentioned that I am an editor on the Star Trek Adventures role-playing game, and my role as an editor there, a lot of it is just making sure that everything fits with the canon.
Yeah.
Something I'm very comfortable doing. Then I was invited to write for the game. And so myself and Dayton Ward, who's written dozens of Star Trek novels, and my friend Kelly Fitzpatrick, I mentioned as a beta reader on a story. She had been in the Strange New Worlds contest. My friend Derek Tyler Attico, who most recently had out the autobiography of Benjamin Sisko that was published by Titan out of London, fabulous book. We all wrote a campaign guide for the thing. And, you know, when you're writing a story or a novel, you're in absolute control. You write everything from A to Z.
Yeah.
You know, beginning, middle, and end, everything is there. But when you're writing for a role-playing game, you're creating this framework and you kind of hope that it goes in a certain direction. You're trying to build in an arc, a story arc, but obviously there has to be all sorts of room there for the player characters to find their way and have an adventure and bring all their creativity to the story. And so you have to leave essentially like big holes in your story, and you have to create this framework. I'm so glad I did it because I like challenging myself, but at a certain point I told the editor, I will never write again for a role-playing game. This is the hardest thing I've ever done. It's just counterintuitive to be a storyteller, but then you're leaving holes for the players who are also storytellers. Yeah, so my mind works in a certain way. And yeah, it's the old dog thing. It's like I've been writing stories traditionally for too long to start writing role-playing games now. It's too hard.
Yep. Well, I hate to tell you, but there's a round 2.
Wait a minute, what?
Yeah, spoiler alert, that round 2. It's a new graph, so you can give us the same numbers. And the other thing, only one person has realized this so far, that you can actually give us 11111 or 44444, because you know. But
where's the fun in that?
Not saying you have to, but
no. Well, and the person I was listening to, you had some sort of spinning app, but you were randomly doing the numbers.
Well, I can bring that up if you want. Or you can give them to us.
I can just give you numbers.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember what numbers I used the first time. Use different numbers.
You used 3, 7, 11, and 4 was what you used last time.
3, 7. See, I should have had a pen handy. So let's go. I haven't used 2.
Yes.
I haven't used 12. So put that in there.
Yep.
Let's see. I don't think I used 8, did I?
No.
And I don't think I used 9. Put that in there.
Sweet.
Okay.
All right. Let's see what we got here. Oh, we've only had this once before, but your setting is a high security prison.
Oh.
And your genre is classic Disney.
Classic Disney.
Oh boy.
In prison. Oh, I love it already. Okay, what's your main character? 8. Your main character is a marine biologist.
And your crazy addition, which is something or someone that must appear in the story, is a butcher, a baker, and a candlestick maker.
Wow.
Well, that sounds like 3 characters.
Yeah. Classic Disney, set in a high security prison. Your main character is a marine biologist, and it's got to have a butcher, a baker, and a candlestick maker.
Wow.
I'm assuming the butcher and the baker could be in prison for notorious reasons. I don't know.
Well, I think we have to set this in some sort of dystopian future where the kindly, heartwarming Disney characters have all been imprisoned in a high security prison. So they're all in there. Bambi, Thumper, the whole gang under lockdown. And the marine biologist, since this is in the far future, when we have polluted the earth so much that it's very hard for marine biologists to study marine biology because the oceans have been destroyed, the marine biologist comes to the high security prison because, what's her name? Ariel, the Little Mermaid, and all those guys, they're in the prison. So that's the only way that she can study marine biology now, is to study the lobsters and crabs. And I've never actually seen Little Mermaid, but and even though it's a high security prison, there's been a series of gruesome murders where, Bambi and Thumper have been brutally butchered. Oh, and not only have they been butchered, but they've been baked into pies and served to the other inmates in the high security prison. Oh, this has taken an ugly turn.
You're just gonna put the candles in it.
So the marine biologist is having more and more trouble because the lobsters, see, I don't know the names of the characters, the lobsters, the crabs, the fish, whatever.
Sebastian.
Sebastian, that's a name. I recognize the name. I don't know who it belongs to. One by one, they're getting butchered and baked. But but finally, to the rescue, the candlestick maker comes in a swinging candlesticks like bats to the head of the butcher and the baker. He takes them out finally. There should have been more character development through from the setup to the ending, but
that's my favorite. Seriously. Oh,
that turned dark. It reminds me of
Grimm Brothers a little.
Well, a writer friend of mine, Ilse Bick, wrote a YA post-apocalyptic thing where they weren't zombies, but a thing had happened, like this big, like worldwide electrical, EMP kind of thing, fried high technology, and it also did a thing to a lot of younger people's brains that turned them into just maniacal cannibals. So it had, zombie-esque, but they weren't zombies. But and I went to a reading of hers, and for some she was coming through Minnesota. She was like doing a bit of a book tour. Well, actually, her publisher, it was published by a company out of Minnesota, and so that's why she had come to Minnesota to do a reading in a signing and stuff. And so I went there, and I took my daughter, who is super geeky as I am, and who was reading the books and enjoying the books. And so we're just sitting in amongst all the other people who have attended the reading, and Ilsa suddenly, since she knew Ella, my daughter, she was like, "So Ella, if you were a cannibal, what part of the person would you eat?" And my daughter, who was like, I don't know, 13, 14 or whatever at the time, no hesitation, immediately the thigh, as if she had already, considered it. And so, yeah, things can take a weird turn.
Well, that's a great way to end the episode. Thank you for joining us, Scott. Sorry for the technical difficulties. But yeah, we're going to give you the floor to, plug yourself, tell our listeners where they can follow you, keep up to date with what you're doing. Anything you want to plug away, the floor's yours.
Cool. Yeah. Well, first off, thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun. My most recent publication is The Sad Rains of Mars, New and Collected Stories. There are 12 stories in there. 9 of them have been previously anthologized. 3 are only available in this book. And there's a wide range of science fiction stories in there. And I was talking earlier about the Weird World War books. And I also have another self-published book called the actually I should have been showing the books. This one is
look at that.
Tales of the Nouveau Templar. This was the one time that I've done urban fantasy, and so it's about a Templar knight that is brought back to life in modern times, and that was originally published in a series of themed anthologies called Re Deus. But if people want to find those books or see the other books I've done or see what I'm up to, excuse me, you go to my website, and that is scott-pearson.com, and you will find links to all of my books. You'll find buy links to where they're available. You'll find a link to my blog where I, once a month I post about whatever I've been writing and reading and editing, and I post sort of here and there otherwise about whatever is popping into my head. You can find me on Blue Sky and on Facebook. And again, you can find the links on my website to those things, which is maybe the easiest way to get to them because Scott Pearson is a very common name. So I often have trouble on like Amazon or Goodreads or something. If you go and type in Scott Pearson, you're going to see my books shuffled in amongst all sorts of other books. And there's like a Canadian hockey player named Scott Pearson, and there's a children's book illustrator named Scott Pearson. And so, I used to try to keep my Goodreads page down to just my books, but they use some sort of automatic algorithm or something that looks for books by Scott Pearson, and it just plops them onto my page.
It's the Scott verse.
I had to give up. It was too much work to try to. So the only way that you're going to definitely see just the books that I've edited or written is by going to my website, scott-pearson.com. I had to put in the hyphen because there was already a scottpearson.com.
Course.
Which now is like up for sale, so I would have to pay to get my own name, so I'm not going to do that. I'm sticking with scott-pearson.com.
Awesome. Well, I will make it easy for our listeners and viewers and put that down in the show notes so you're just one click away. So guys, be sure to check that out. Be like Ryan and buy all the books. Support Scott where you can. If you want to reach out, thetrueandthefictional@gmail.com. Please check out our sponsors, Rebecca Castles, Martin Kearns, our honorary sponsors, Janelle Shiki and Alexander Robb. All their links are down below. Buy Ryan's shirt. If you're interested, buy my books because they're there. I keep forgetting to plug them. And if you guys are interested, we do have a Discord now. It'll be a quicker, easier way for you to get on the show because it's kind of more central. It's a way to connect there. So if you want, send us a message, send us an email. We'll give you the link for that. Now that I'm out of breath, thank you for listening. Until next time, keep supporting those indie authors, and we will catch you on the next episode.